Staying on the topic of mitochondria, I keep reading amazing studies on creatine. Creatine being a supplement. I mean, when you and I were kids working out, it first came out into the market, and it was only about building muscle and getting stronger. There was controversy around it. Now studies are showing it's good for your heart and your brain, and it's good for mitochondrial health. And I even read a study that it might help people with arthritis, and it's very interesting. What are your thoughts on creatine? Because I predicted, I do this often on the show, and I say, I believe creatine to be the next big wellness supplement. I think it's going to move out of the fitness space and move into the wellness space because of some of its wellness applications. What are your thoughts around creatine? What are its benefits, and are there benefits that you would, recommend it for aside from the traditional, makes you stronger and allows you to do a few more reps in the gym?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's funny. It takes me way back to my senior year of high school with my little bottle of EAS, going to the bathroom and doing my loading phase, popping a scoop in my mouth and washing it down with tap water. And it worked. I mean, the first time I took creatine, I was a really thin, 17-year-old, whatever it was. And I put on 14 pounds in about 10 days. It was the most absurd thing. It was unbelievable. So I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. I was investing in, and then of course your gains stop after that. But it was a great 30 days. And so it's great. Yes, it's great for ATP production. But one of the reasons why that they're finding that creatine can help for so many different things is because of its ability to improve adenosine triphosphate. So if it can turn it over faster and it can improve mitochondrial, not just energy output in an anaerobic environment. So like, let's say that you're trying to get that extra rep, or you're trying to, whatever it might be, you're trying to last that full 30 seconds for the set, 60 seconds. They've actually shown that it improves aerobic endurance as well. They've shown that it's helped with burn victims. They've used it in hospital settings as well. So I think it's a product that has a ton of upside. It's very inexpensive. I don't know if you've looked into different forms. I've looked into different forms of creatine. The one that I keep going back to is the inexpensive one, creatine monohydrate. I think that people get great results just with that. They don't need to do a loading phase, especially if there's any GI gastrointestinal based issues. You can mix it with other, like with your smoothie, or for better absorption, take it on its own with a little sodium, with a little bit of dextrose, if you want, for even better absorption. The only drawback, and this is kind of a big drawback for guys I work with in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s that really want to do a lot of anti-aging and boost their testosterone naturally. Creatine can cause hair loss. There's really good correlations with that.
Is this from the increased conversion of testosterone to DHT?
100%.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So explain that. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're 100% right. So basically, it can actually thin the hair follicle itself, or it can cause a speed up in male pattern baldness, just androgenic based hair loss. So it doesn't seem to affect women, but it certainly can. Women with PCOS can absolutely be affected if they take creatine, because they have higher levels of testosterone, typically higher levels of insulin causing higher levels of testosterone. But again, of course, all that can be fixed for women easily. Not as easy to fix it for men. But here's what the workaround that we found. What is the product that we use? It's called Advanced Prostate Support. So I know it says for your prostate, but what works for your prostate actually works for your hair. So it has saw palmetto, it has stinging nettles, it has pygeum, and that actually helps to block testosterone from DHT. However, if you're looking for the most muscle gain, you actually want testosterone to DHT. It actually helps boost muscle. Yeah,
DHT is very androgenic, right? So it gives you that aggression, that strength in the gym. I even read a study that creatine improves sperm motility because of the ATP, which is really, really fascinating. But you're saying if you're somebody that's predisposed to hair loss, that you may notice an acceleration of that. What about for everyday average people who probably aren't predisposed? Is this something that they should be concerned with?
No, and I think, let's just say you started taking creatine, and in the shower in the morning or combing your hair, doing your hair, you started to see more hair in your hand, then you would stop creatine, and it should stop. So that's the nice thing, is it shouldn't be like, once you take the creatine out, it might take a week, but it should stop after that, because it's not like it's water soluble. It's not going to stay in your body for a long period of time. And the other thing I'll say about creatine is that, because I've I use this a lot in my life. I've used it with a lot of clients, and I can just tell you anecdotally, I'd love to know if you've seen any studies on it. I really think that you've maxed out your benefits in about 8 to 10 weeks. I think that you can cycle on and off of it if you're just looking for the overall like health benefits, like take 6 weeks off, go back on if you want.
Yeah. And there's that. And also I've noticed with clients that my vegan clients had tremendous upside from taking creatine, whereas my heavy meat eating clients would have a much smaller upside because obviously vegans aren't getting any creatine in their diet. And then I read a study that showed that vegans who take creatine get a boost in IQ. They actually get cognitive boosts from it, probably because they lack it in their diet. Am I on track with that?
Well, yes, and not even because they don't get creatine as much in their diet, and you're completely right on that aspect. Like if we go back and we think about like the mid 1900s bodybuilder heyday, and then into like the 70s with Arnold and Franco and all those guys, we have to look at, they already knew, they didn't have all the supplements, but they're eating red meat multiple times per day sometimes, or they're eating very anabolic foods. And when you are on a vegan-based diet, and actually I work with a ton of vegan-based bodybuilders and vegan-based athletes, and we can still get you there. There's no doubt about it. However, you are on a naturally catabolic diet. Like it's just naturally more catabolic. You're eating more plant food, which is not as anabolic as eating flesh food. And again, we've known this from an Ayurvedic medicine over 6,000 years ago that, if you really want to put on muscle, you're taking in essentially dairy and meat, like these foods that are just very anabolic. And I remember back in the day when I was in my teenage years, they would tell you to mix heavy cream, with your shake, with your protein powder. And that's because you'd get a ton of cholesterol and IGF, like insulin growth factor, and that would help boost muscle. And so creatine is anabolic. Just like branched chain amino acids are. So if you're giving those to someone that's vegan, they're going to get